So we are discussing the mass spectrometry, right? So in the last class, we tried to understand particularly uh, the isotopic effect. Okay, what is its application in terms of identifying uh, the molecule, and based on that, we have given some problems. I think many of you have tried already. Uh, but you have to submit the assignment as early as possible. Okay. So today I'll discuss mostly the application now. Now onwards we'll be having the application only. Okay. So I'll give some basic information how to approach on uh, the predicting the mass spectrum. Uh, you need to know some kind of the rulings, how you can break the molecule, what are the things you have to keep in mind while working on assigning some particular compound through mass spectrometry or through the spectrum. Uh, so here what we'll see that that in the last class I have given a list of uh, atoms and the isotope and their isotopic abundance, right? And those have, huge utilization in the mass spectrometry. But you have seen that in the NMR, you have a little bit, abundance impact. Okay, but here what we see that you will, particularly for halogen related compounds, it is the isotope which will play immense role. So I'm just giving again the same list for because I'll try to analyze some of the compound. So uh, you should have the list with you while solving the problems. And as I told, like every mass spectrometry class will have always the analysis. So you should have your calculator or mobile with you so that you can do calculations. Okay, and when I'll be asking something, you have to give the reply. Then I will understand whether you are understanding or not. Okay, if you are just remaining silent, I'll not be able to understand whether you are getting the point or not. So you have to respond. Okay, so this is the same list as I have shared in the last class. So based on that, we'll see how we can utilize. Okay, so uh, in mass spectrometry, what we have seen in the last class is we'll find the molecular ion peak, okay, and you have nearby one mass unit or two mass unit, three mass unit or four mass unit more peaks will be surrounding the molecular ion. Sometimes these added peaks, means this plus one, plus two, plus three, plus four, these peaks may be bigger than the molecular ion peak. It doesn't mean that always the molecular ion peak will be bigger. Okay, so you can have these other peaks to be bigger, but these peaks are nothing but due to the abundance of isotope. Okay, so this one plus two plus three plus four, these peaks will be always you are finding in any peak, any bigger peak will have always these small peaks. Okay, and these peaks are due to the isotopes of different atoms. Now let us look at in a very simplest way. So if you consider just the bromine, okay, Br plus. Suppose you have generated a Br plus. So how did that Br plus is going to project it in the mass spectrum? Now in the list, what we have seen that the Br plus, the bromine is having two isotopes. One is 79, another is 81, right? And 79, it has the abundance of 50.5, okay, percent natural abundance, and you have 81 isotope that is having 49.5. So altogether, both if you add, it is 100%. Okay, and this 50.5 and 49.5, they are very close to each other, and they are differ by 2 units. So that's why you see, you'll for one Br class, you will see 2 peaks. Okay, and this is very characteristic. Like if you have any molecule, okay, whether the molecule is having bromine or not, okay, you can just look at the mass spectrum and quickly tell. Because in that case, every peak will have, whatever peak we'll be looking at, that peak will have almost similar ratio. 2 peaks will be there if you have one bromine. Okay? And this M here, if you look at this means this is the 79 peak atom. The Br plus is due to that 79, and that is 50.5%, and the M plus 2 is 49.5%. So they are very close, right? Very tiny differences. So that's why the height is almost similar. Okay? And definitely it is the M which will give the molecular INP. Now this is the simplest one. When you go for Br2, suppose you have bromine and you bombarded with electron beam, and it has generated Br2 dot plus. So this Br2 dot plus, Br2 dot plus. Can you please switch off your microphone? So this Br2 dot plus, okay, that will give.
Bayang kalau may bayang ada siya ang huyas niya army. Ang kana mo pun, kaya bayang. I'm really tawa, may baji ba. Tarap ka de ule usalias.
Okay, this Br2 dot plus, that will give rise to 3 peaks. Okay, that you will be looking at how the things are happening. And if you look at here, M is smaller than M plus 2. Okay, so the peak M plus 2 is now is being projected as the base peak. Okay, the bigger one. So, as we have seen in the last class, how to calculate the percentage of different things, right? So we have A plus B to the power n. Now n represents how many molecules you have, right? How many atoms of the same element you have. So we are 2, that means you have 2 atoms. So that's why it is 2. A plus B, A represents one isotope, B represents another isotope. So where A is 79 isotope, which has the percentage 50.5%. So that fraction will come 50.5 by 100. And B is, you have 81, that isotope having 49.5%, so 49.5 by 100. Okay. Now you just need to put this value and to the power 2, so you have a square plus 2ab plus b square. And if you just take A as point, like you just take the fraction, so 0.505 square, then you have 2.05, 0.505 into 0.495, and then 0.495 square. Okay, so this is your taking it. Now you look at A, it is purely from 79. So that is A square is going to give you the M peak. Look at 2AB. So A here is 79, B here is 81. Okay, so this particular 2AB, this is going to give you the M plus 2. You understand? So A is the contribution from M, B is contribution from M plus 2. So overall you will have 2 unit here, you are adding extra. So that's why 2AB is going to give the contribution of M plus 2, and B square, it is purely of 81, so which is already 2 unit more. So 2 of that, So that's why m plus 4. So b square is going to give you the contribution of m plus 4. Okay. Now what you do is you take these values. Don't do this summation and give come to the one value. No, individual you just need to do the calculation and make a square that term as 100, and what will be the situations of others, okay, that you have to calculate. So what I have done is 0.505 square that I have made to 100. So that means what I have to do, I have to multiply by 100 and you have to divide by 0.505 square. So that will nullify this one and it will give the 100. So that have been done here. And what ultimately we are getting is that a square, that one I am getting as 100. The 2ab is we are getting as 196, and b square we are getting as 96. Okay. Now in mass spectrum, what you will see is that the highest one will be adjusted as 100%. Okay, because this is relative abundance. So with respect to the base peak, other peak percentage will be calculated. Understood? So here, if you look at, this is 100, this is 196, and this is 96. So 196 is the highest peak, okay, percentage. So what you have to do is 196 you make it to 100, and what will be the remaining part? So definitely the 100 will be close to 51 and 96 will be close to 49. Okay. So you have m plus 2, this one will be the 100% peak. Okay, so this will be the 100% peak, and this will be 49%. Okay, and this will be 51%. So that will be the situation. So your percentage scale you have to put it here. So this is going to be 100. Relative abundance in percentage we put it. Okay, so that way you have to do the calculation. Now if I give you a bit complicated one, suppose I am giving BR3. So you are trying to get how the BR3 will be projected. Okay, so here I have given the mass spectrum already. Now how this is coming you can understand. If I take BR3, that means you have A plus B to the power 3, because you have 3 atoms. Understood? Now you put accordingly. I'll just tell what will contribute what. So you have AQ plus 3 square B plus 3AB square and BQ. So AQ is going to give, this is completely generated from 79. Okay, this is A79. So this is going to give you the M. 3A square B, you look at 1B here and 2A, right? So that means you are having M plus 2. B means it is 81. So 2 unit more here, right? So you have M plus 2. So 3 square B is going to give you the M plus 2. M plus 2. Now 3AB square. 3AB square, you have 1A, 2B. So 2B means you have twice of plus 2. So that means M plus 4. This is going to give you
4.
M plus 4. Okay. Now BQ, this is going to give 3B. So 2, 2, 2. So M plus 6. Okay. So this is, you will get it as M plus 6. Now here, if you look at, you will not get M plus 1, M plus 3. Understood? Why you will not get? Because you have always 2 unit more. There is no 1 unit. Okay. So 79, then you have 81. There is no 80. If you had 80, then it would have M plus 1, M plus 3. Okay. So here you will have M plus 2, M plus 4, and M plus 6. Got it? Now you do accordingly the calculation. As usual, you put the value of its abundance in a percentage. So A, it is 0.505. So you put Q, then you put 3A square B, 3AB square, then BQ. And individually you do the calculation, make AQ as the 100% and look at what is the situation of others. Okay, so if I do that calculation, I'm getting AQ, that is giving, the M is giving 100, M plus 2 is 294, M plus 4 is 288, and m plus 6 we are getting as 94. So what I have to do, this is the biggest one, so I have to make it as the 100%. Okay, so this is, if I make it 100%, what I have to do, I have to divide by this one by 294 and multiply by 100, so that will give you 100. So I will do that thing to all, and that will be ultimately giving you m will be 34%, m plus 2 will be 100%, m plus 4 is 97.5%, and m plus 6 is 32%. And if you look at here, m plus 2, you see, this is the biggest one, so this is 100. Okay, so this is going to be 100%. M plus 4, if you look at, just a little bit smaller, so this is 97.5%. Okay, 97.5. Then you have m, okay, 34. If you look at, the ratio is almost 1/3, right? So 34%. Then m plus 6 is 32. Okay, so this way we try to get the different ratios of the peak generated due to the isotopic abundance. Okay, now if you go back to the chart what I have given, you will be looking at, it is the halogen, chlorine and bromine that has the high abundance in its isotopic abundance in the nature. But the hydrogen and carbon, they are very little, even the nitrogen. Okay, so in your molecule, suppose if I give, what will be the situation if I have like this, benzyl bromide? Okay, benzyl bromide. So how the molecular ion peak will be looking like? Okay, so molecular ion, I mean the molecular ion and its associated peak. Understood? That means you have one bromine here, and remaining you have the carbon, right? You have carbon and hydrogen. So that will have little impact because their isotopic abundance are too less. So 1.1%. Hydrogen deuterium is very less, right? 0.04%. So you will have very little abundance there. So that will be neglected with respect to this bromine because you have 50% abundance here. Okay? 55, 50.5 and 49.5. So that's why what we'll see in the molecular ion region, whatever the molecular peak, that will have this distribution. Got it? Almost this distribution. 50. This is 50.5 and 49.5. So that will be the distribution. Okay. Suppose I am giving the beer here, 2 beer. Understood? This is 1 beer, this is another beer. So one molecule is having 2 beer, then this will be uh, the peak ratio surrounding the molecular ion. Okay, so molecular ion will come with m plus 2 and m plus 4. Okay, and how the base peak will be looking like, that you will understand very easily. After a while I'll tell. Suppose this is your molecule, what could be the base peak? So base peak, it doesn't mean the molecular ion peak, right? In the last class we have understood that base peak is always due to the most stable ion. Okay, now okay, let me tell here, the most stable ion what you can generate from this molecule is the benzylic cation, right? So if the Br minus is coming out, I mean Br is coming out, so you will have the benzylic cation, right? Yes, this Br is not going to come out so easily. So this Br can easily come out, and you have benzylic cation. So that cation will be very, very stable, right? So that is, I mean, that will be reaching to the detector in a greater number. So that will show as the base peak. Now, if you look at the base peak, what you will see, this bromine is coming out, but this bromine is there. So how the base peak will be looking like? Base peak will also have like m plus 2. There m means the cation mass. Okay, m by j. So you'll have this distribution. Understood? You'll have this distribution along the, the near the base peak, whereas the molecular ion peak will have this distribution. Hope you got the point what I'm trying to mean. Let us move to some other aspects. So suppose you have the element excluding the bromine and chlorine. So if you have bromine chlorine, that A plus B to the power n is better to utilize that one. Okay, but if you don't have bromine chlorine, you can utilize that one. I'm not telling you cannot, but it's better to have another formulation. So that one you have to know. So you have m plus 1 contribution. M is always you consider as 100, and that case only the halogen, if you have, your m will not be 100 always. Okay, but if you don't have halogen, the m peak will be the, I mean the molecular ion peak will be the 100%. Okay, like carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, these are the atoms suppose making the compound. You will have always the 100% peak around the molecular ion peak. I'm telling, not the base peak. I'm just considering the molecular ion peak. Okay, so these 100% with respect to the molecular ion. Don't consider the base peak. Okay, if it is base peak, we have to again find out how much stable the molecular ion. Okay, if molecular ion is suppose very less stable, suppose it is 10% of the base peak. Okay, that 10% will be the m, and m plus 1 will be based on that remaining calculation. Now let us look at how the other atom will be contributing. So you have m plus 1 peak, where these calculations is there. Number of atom of carbon into 1.1%, number of H into 0.015. So this calculation you have to do for m plus 1 peak. M plus 2 peak, you have to do a calculation a bit different. So number of carbon into 1.1 whole square by 200, and then number of oxygen 0.02, number of sulfur. So you look at, there is no uh, calculations based on nitrogen. Okay, because nitrogen, when you go for the second isotope, I mean, you don't have nitrogen, you have the 14 and 15, right? 14 and 15. So that's why we means this, it can contribute to the m plus 1, it cannot contribute to the m plus 2. So that is the thing. So you have m plus 2 calculation, there is no nitrogen. If you look at in m plus 1, you have the calculation of nitrogen. You have the percentage abundance is 0.37. Okay, that's why it is been taken. Here you have hydrogen deuterium concentration. Yeah, so these two we have to utilize to find out the ultimate ratio. Now let us come to the example, then you will understand. So suppose I need to calculate the carbon monoxide. Okay, so what will be the molecular ion peak? Suppose this carbon monoxide is there and it is bombarded and it is generating dot plus ion. Okay, so what will be the situation? Its molecular ion and surrounding isotopic peak. So the 100% peak is due to this particular isotopic abundance. So 12C and 16O. Okay, so this is the thing which is going to contribute the 100% MP. Now m plus 1, I have to take the calculation from here, m plus 1. So this I have to put it, carbon 1, so 1 into 1.1 plus oxygen 1, and its abundance is 0.04. Okay, so that I have to consider. So that much percentage, and I don't have any other nitrogen or hydrogen or sulfur or anything. So I don't need to bother about that one. What I am getting is 1.14%. So m will be 100%, m plus 1 will be 1.14%. So it's close to 1%, and that will be due to what will be the exact molecule. So that is 13C16. This is plus 1. You see 13C. And O is remaining 16. So this is contributing. Another is 12C17O. Okay, 17O, that can contribute. Okay, that can contribute. And this 0.04%, this is 17O. Okay, 17O, that isotopic abundance. So that too will be, you have to sum it and you have to get. So this is coming here, and then you have m plus 2. M plus 2, you have to do the calculation based on this one. Okay, so that is here you can your oxygen you have already 2. So I mean 18 to m plus 2. So that abundance is 0.2. So we are doing the calculation like this, and finally we are getting here. Okay, so m plus 1, m plus 2, is ratio is 100%, 1%, and 0.2%. Okay, and that this one we are having 13 C 17O, that can be plus 2, right? M plus 2, 13 is plus 1, and 17 is plus 1, or it can be 12C 18O. Okay, so that is there. So these two they are contributing. That is the situation here. How the nitrogen molecule will look like if I have 14 nitrogen 2 will be 100%. M plus 1, just you need to consider this one, right? So 2 molecule 0.37. So this is giving 0.7%. Okay, 0.74%. That is 14 and 15. 15. That is the molecule. And you have M plus 2. So that I have to put in this category. Okay, M plus 1. 2 nitrogen each can contribute, 15 can contribute 1 and 15 has the abundance is 0.37. So that's why I'm putting here this equation. I'm taking replacing carbon with nitrogen and this abundance with the plus 1 abundance of nitrogen. So 2 nitrogen we have 0.36, which is abundance square by 200%. So that is giving 0.0025. It's negligible. You can just neglect it. Okay, you don't need to consider. Means this 2 neglect is beyond detection level. It's even not 0.1%. It's 0.0025%. You just neglect it. Now, what I'm telling is the same thing. If you do calculation with respect to the previous, like A plus B to the power n, what I have to find like 8 plus B to the power n. If you look at 14, you have the abundance is 99.64%, and 15 isotope, that is 0.36%. So if I do the calculation, what I am getting, I'm just putting the values here, and what I am ultimately having, the M is 100%. M plus 1 I am getting from here 0.72%, and M plus 2 is very less, 0.00001%. So that means it's just the neglect. You can do neglect here, this one, and these two, if you take it, is well matching, right? These two, they are well matching process. This is 100%. This is also 100%. This M plus 1 is 0.74. It's 0.72. They are close, so 0.7 around. So that is the thing. You have the little differences here. Okay, but you can go for both of the process. What I'm telling is, if you don't have the halogen, better to follow these two. Okay, and if you have halogen, then you can go for A plus B to the power n. So this is all about the isotopic abundance and their application in mass spectrum. Now what we'll see is the
Sir,
general. Yes.
for carbon monoxide, then why is M plus 1 is 13 C and
M plus,
16 oxygen?
no, this 13 means this is the isotope 13C6. The carbon, you have two isotopes, right? You have 12C6,
Yes, sir.
13C6. So 13C6 means
Yes, sir.
this is contributing plus 1. 12 is the normal one. That has the abundance of 99%, 98.9%. Okay, 12 carbon 6. Got it? So when we are considering 13C6, that means this is plus 1 contribution. So you are having plus 1. Okay, that's why you are taking that one. Are you getting? So this molecule,
Yes, sir.
yes, this molecule means this will contribute to the plus 1, 13C16O. Got it? When we call
And
it
oxygen is
oxygen 16, because oxygen you have 16O8, that is the general isotope having the maximum abundance in the nature, right? When you consider 17O8,
yes, sir.
that is M plus 1, right? You are having 1 unit.
M plus.
And you have the last one, 18O8, right? That is M plus 2. Are you getting? So when we consider the M
Yes,
plus
sir.
2, so then you have to keep the carbon same, 12, and you add 18O. So that is giving the ultimate. Just make the difference from here to here. Look at, this is 12C 16O, here 12C 18O. How much difference in the molecular weight? Plus 2, right? 16 became
Yes,
here 8.
plus 2. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's why it is M plus 2 contribution.
Sir, only one can change. That means 13C, 16.
Yeah, in this case, this is, I mean, two probabilities. One can be 12C 18O, another can be 13C 17O. If you do here, see, compare the 12C 16O, 13C 17O. What you are looking here, the difference is carbon has changed its unit 13, right? So 1, so here 1,
Yes, sir.
plus oxygen also changed 1 unit, 16 to 17, so plus 1. So that means 2.
Yes,
That
yes,
is,
yes.
so M plus 2. You
Yes,
got the point.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll be looking at other points. General stability of molecular ion peak. Okay, so you have a huge spectrum of molecular ion, like different functionalities. You have carboxylic acid, you have alkene, you have aromatic compound, you have alcohol, you have amine, you have ester, you have, so you have a huge classes of aromatic compounds, right? So in general, how the molecular ion, okay, will be stabilized. So here the intensity of a M plus peak relative to the fragment ions in the spectrum is determined by the easy formation of the molecular ion on the electron impact. So what you are doing, you are bombarding the molecule with the electron beam, and you are generating the initial molecular ion peak. Now this initial molecular ion peak, how much stable it is, it will be guided by its fragmented ion. So fragmented ion, if it is more stable, that means molecular ion will be less stable, right? So that is being told here. Now the following list contains, so here I'll give one list of compounds. Here if you look at, if you go from aromatic compounds to the regular olefin, then ketone, amine, and this, what we see is that the molecular ion peak intensity is going to decrease in this way. Okay, so alcohol means, if you look at alcohol, it will easily release the water molecule. Did you get it? So if the alcohol is easily releasing the water molecule, that means the molecular ion cannot be stabilized. So it will be less stable. Whereas suppose benzene, nothing to lose. It's aromatic. Okay, it's a highly stable molecular ion because its fragmented ions are very, very unstable. Got it? So in general trend, we'll find like this one. Okay, we'll find like this one. So when fragment ions form in the mass spectrum, they almost always do so by means of unimolecular process. So what we find that the fragmentation takes place due to the unimolecular process. Means the single molecule. So what I was telling is the single molecule, okay, is undergoing the fragmentation. It's not like 2-3 molecules, they're colliding and undergoing fragmentation. It's a unimolecular process. So one molecule will undergo the fragmentation. Okay, and that why it will be unimolecular, you will understand in a minute. So what we are doing, we are allowing the ionized, I mean the ionization at low pressure, and that ions also we are allowing to travel to the analyzer also at a very, very low pressure. So the low pressure of the ionization chamber makes it unlikely to, I mean, a significant number of bimolecular collision would occur. That means it's not, I mean, at low pressure, what you will see, the molecules will be far apart from each other. I mean, far apart from each other. They will be far away from each other. So there is hardly any chance of the molecules to collide to each other. Understood? So after the ion formation, initial ion formation, uh, since the ion you are forming at very low pressure, vacuum, so there will be less chance of the two molecular ion to come closer and collide. Okay. So instead, what will happen? The individual molecular ion will be far away from each other, and they will undergo decay process or the fragmentation process from the unimolecular route. Okay, by the unimolecular route. So that is happening, and the unimolecular process that are energetically more favorable give rise to the most fragment ions. Okay, so that is the thing, like you have more energy, so and you have a chance of more stable ion generation, so that process, I mean, that molecule will undergo fragmentation. Now what we'll look uh, at this slide is the initiation and roots of fragmentation. Okay, initiation and roots of fragmentation. So here you have to remember one very basic rule that I am telling from the beginning. Uh, the rule name as the Stevenson rule. What it tells is the most preferable fragmentation is the one that leaves the positive charge on the fragment with the lowest ionization energy. It's a very, we are telling in a like bushing around. The words are just in a, so actually what it means is you have the molecule, okay, and if it is able to generate the ions very easily, means the lowest ionization energy, okay, it involves less energy to generate the ions, so that ion will be generated faster, okay. And when that ion will be having, I mean, the ionization energy will be low, because if the ion is stabilized, okay, if the ion is stable, that ion can easily be generated. So its generation or ionization energy will be low. So in other words, fragmentation process that leads to the formation of more stable ion are favored over the process that leads to less stable ion. So more stable cation will be favored. So that will favor the root. Okay, so that is the point here. Now we'll try to understand different routes, how the bond cleavage will happen. So these are the very, very important points you have to look at. Now, as I have told earlier also, the very basic rule is first the bombardment, then you have the electron ejection, and it will generate the cation. It can generate the anion. The molecule may also be not undergoing the process. So, but what our interest is, we are allowing only one ion, one type of ion, that is cation. So we are interested in cation now. So after generation of the cation, if it is quite stable, it will reach to the detector. If it is not stable, the molecular ion, if it is not stable, it will undergo decay process, and that process is of particularly two types. One, in one case, it can release one radical and generate a cation. In another case, it can release one neutral molecule to become one smaller cation radical, and then the smaller cation radical can undergo fragmentation further and release one radical and one cation. Okay, so these are the two processes you can happen. So that means you can directly get here A plus, okay, and if it is following this route, you'll be able to find this as one peak, and then it will give another peak, this one. Okay. So these are the things we have come to know. Now let us look at what are the actual fragmentation process. So primary steps, in any molecule, uh, you may get these three kinds of electrons, right? So you can have non-bonding electrons, you can have pi bonding electrons, and definitely you will have sigma bonding. So you may have non-bonding, you may have pi bonding, but definitely you will have the sigma bonding electrons. Now you tell me, among these electrons, which electron is the most stable one? Can anybody tell? You have non-bonding electrons in a molecule, you have pi bonding, you have sigma bonding. So which is the most stable one? Sigma bonding.
Non-bonding.
Non-bonding are stable. It is the sigma bonding.
Sigma bond.
Sigma bonding electrons are the most stable. Then you have pi bonding electrons. Then you have non-bonding. Non-bonding electrons not in the bonding condition. So it is free. That's why you can easily acid-base reaction it takes place from the non-bonding electrons, right? So what we see is that in primary fragmentation process, when the electron is bombarding the molecule, which electron do you expect to be ejected easily? It is the non-bonding, because non-bonding is the most loosely bound electrons, right? Then you have pi bonding, then you have sigma bonding. Are you getting? So if you have a molecule, there is no non-bonding or pi bonding electrons, then what we'll see is that the electron ejection from sigma bonding will take place, okay? And fragmentation will be not so easy, okay? So in that case, we'll see the molecular ion peak will be predominating. Are you getting? Whereas the non-bonding and pi bonding electron ejection leads the molecule to break down generally. Okay. Now let us look at what will happen if the electron is ejecting from non-bonding orbitals. So you have this molecule, you have ether, you are bombarding with electron. So what will happen? The molecule will prefer to eject electron from the non-bonding. You have the here sigma bonding and non-bonding. So it will eject the electron from non-bonding. Okay. So that is the major route. I am telling that is the major route. So it doesn't mean that in mass spectrum there will be no ejection of electron from the sigma bond. Okay. Sigma bonding electron will be ejected, but that is the minor route. Major route will be from electron ejection from oxygen lone pair. Okay. So whatever fragmentation you will be looking at, it will be guided based on this non-bonding electron ejection. Okay. The second is here, if you look at amine, you have also non-bonding electrons on nitrogen. So you will have this one. You have here alcohol. Okay. So you have non-bonding electrons. So you will have this one. This is the general ejection of electron. Similarly, if you have pi bonding electrons, okay, so you have in this molecule you have pi and sigma, so electron will be preferring to eject from the pi bonding, so you'll have a dot plus. Look at the plus where I have given, it's more substituted one, so that will be more stabilized one. Okay, so that is the thing here. Here you have another, so you have, there is no extra stability, right? So you can have a plus here, dot here, or you can have dot here, plus here. You look at two. Suppose you have benzene, so benzene you have pi bond, okay, so it can eject electron, so dot plus, and that dot plus means it can, both can rotate, okay, both can be changing, or delocalization can happen, okay, in radical way or in this way, okay, heterolytic or homolytic way. So you have the dot plus will be, I mean, it is generating the delocalization. So you can have electron ejection from this carbonyl. Now this carbonyl, you have two types of electrons, right? You have non-bonding, you have pi bonding, okay? Now what we see, you'll see the non-bonding electron ejection will be more preferable than the pi bonding, okay? So this is a special case. You have non-bonding electron ejection will be more preferable than pi bonding. So carbonyl, you have non-bonding, so it will be undergoing non-bonding, okay? Later on, after non-bonding electron ejection, the pi bond can play its role in the fragmentation process. So that you will come to know while we'll discuss the real fragmentation. Now, sigma bonding, electron. So what you have, suppose you have this is the molecule. So what can happen? Sigma bond electron will be coming out. So you have suppose two electrons here. You have two electrons, right? Sigma bonding. So every bond you have two electrons. Now what can happen? It can cleave from here, can cleave from here, or cleave from here, anywhere. But here what I have given is cleaving from this one, because this is you can generate. You have a radical here, you have cation here. Okay. So ultimately, what you can tell, you can cleave from here also. So you have a radical cation. So what is happening? This whole molecule, you know, the radical and cation is generated here. So one electron is ejecting, and it is generating this as your molecular ion. Now, based on the structure, the fragmentation will take place. Now, if it is fragmenting, if I try to apart one side, suppose if I am cleaving here, so one side I have to take positive, another side I have to take dot. Okay, so that we have to do. So it can be like this way, or it can be like this way. So these are the general primary process. Now, secondary process, secondary step, you have quite a lot of different route. One is the alpha beta cleavage, okay, and it can be radical mediated. Okay, mechanism can be radical guided. So suppose you have a molecule like this. Okay, you have beta bond. So this is alpha bond, this is alpha bond, this is beta bond. And this is a heteroatom, that means you have non-bonding electrons. Okay, so if you bombard with electrons, what will happen? You have a dot plus generation. Now this will undergo fragmentation. Now how the fragmentation is happening? You have a radical, so that can play the role, and you can look at this radical is falling here. It is initiating, I mean, it's helping to break the beta bond. Okay, so you are generating a radical here, you have a double bond here, so having a positive charge. Okay, so that means this is going to give you m by z. Okay, and this is neutral one, this is neutral. You can have a situation like this. You have a situation where the heteroatom will have a positive charge, and you have a dot here. Okay, now in this case you can have the cleavage like this way. So you have radical, so radical will come this way, that will help to break this bond, alpha bond. So alpha, this is with respect to this y, you can call it this alpha bond. Alpha bond is breaking, so you have neutral molecule is coming out, you are generating a dot plus here. So this is giving you the m by z. Okay, you can have like this carbonyl. Okay, so what you can have is dot plus, you have non-bonding electrons, so that will be generating. Now this dot is falling here, that is helping to break this bond, or it can help to break this bond also. It's the same. So I'm just taking one side, this bond. So if it is breaking that way, you will generate a radical here. So this is a radical, and you are generating a cation here. So you will have this m by z. Now this cation is stabilized. Remember, this whole bond can come here, and your positive charge can move here. Okay, so this is the another route. Now you can have a situation like this. Okay, so dot plus. You have pi bond here, so pi bond will be releasing one electron. So you have a dot and a plus. So if you take dot here, you take plus here. Now dot can migrate, and it can help breaking this bond. So if it's breaking, so this will be dot, you will be double bond here, and you have plus. So it's allylic, stabilized. So it is stabilized, positive charge here. Move. So this way you can have radical mediated alpha or beta bond cleavage based on your structure. So what type of molecule you have. Another is the cleavage guided by the inductive effect. Okay, so that means it's not the radical which is in this way helping for the cleavage. It is the heterolytic bond cleavage. So here we can call it the homolytic. This is homolytic cleavage. This is homolytic, means radical way. Homolytic, homolytic. And this is heterolytic. Now heterolytic, you have this is the bond, the whole bond pair of electrons. So it's neutralizing this one. So if it is coming, the whole bond pair is coming. So R will be plus. This is plus. Now this is plus is being neutralized. So you have radical only. Okay. So this is the way. Similar way you look at here. Okay. So this you can see R can be coming out, and you can have this radical generation. One thing you can do, you can have, you can imagine like you have a dot here, you have a dot here. Now this dot, okay, is giving up. So you have a R plus, and this is taking that one. Okay, so this plus is neutralized. So you have a lone pair. So lone pair we are not putting actually. Ultimately, you have this structure. Now here you have a plus charge. You may have a situation here plus charge is there, so that can be neutralized. R can be plus charge. So you can have M plus Z due to this one. And similar way, it's the same way you can have inductive. So you have R plus. So these are the different routes based on the situation. What type of situation you have in your case. Okay. Now let us look at other fragmentation route. Suppose you have a molecule where you have halogen, okay, or OH is there. Now the whole system, electron will be rejected. So you have a plus dot plus. Now in this case, what we see is that they can eliminate, they can liberate the water molecule if it is OH, or it can liberate HX, means hydrohalite. Okay, so HCl, HBr, like that. So the acid can be liberated to generate another smaller molecule, okay, which will have dot plus. So this can play the role of M by Z, and this will further be fragmented, no issue. So you can just cleave here, you can put dot plus here, dot here, okay? And then further this radical here, it can migrate, or it can facilitate other bond cleavage. Now you can have a cyclic compound. Okay, in that case, what we see is that elimination of ethylene is happening. So its ring is constructing. So ring is becoming, changing, and reconstruction is happening, and it's eliminating ethylene molecule. Got it? So what you can think like this is this dot plus. You think like the whole molecule is having dot plus. Okay. Now inside the situation, it can happen like this bond is breaking, one dot, and this dot. So it is a 4-member now. I mean, if N is 1, it is 4-member, and you'll have it in one. Okay. So after that, this will further can undergo fragmentation. So this way you can have neutral molecule elimination. Okay. Neutral molecule elimination generally it either HX or the alkene. Sometimes ethylene, sometimes propylene. This type of small alkene comes out. The one of the most important route is the retrodiol-solder. Okay, so you have to remember here in this case you have the cyclohexene type situation. So if you have a dot plus, so that will undergo retrodiol-solder route. So you'll have in and diene. Okay, so diene, dienophile, that situation. Now the dienophile, so this generally becomes the smaller molecule. So this comes as the gas. So dienophile, it can further, so dot plus, you can take this is plus, this is dot. Okay, and this way it can happen the fragmentation. Another most important is the McLafferty rearrangement. So what we see is here the environment, you should have the gamma hydrogen. You have an unsaturation, the environment should be, you have unsaturation, then alpha, beta, gamma. Okay, the gamma position you should have hydrogen. Then you will have a 6-member transition state. So you have 1, 2, 3, 1. So this is hydrogen. You have to consider 1. Is 2, 3, 4, is 5, and 6. So this you look at the environment. Okay, you have a double bond. You have a Z. So dot plus. So that dot can take the hydrogen and it can generate a radical here, and that will facilitate the fragmentation. So you have a neutral molecule coming out, you have a dot plus generation here, and this can further undergo fragmentation based on it. fragmentation. So these are the different routes of fragmentation. We have to look at the molecule, which other routes are possible. So that based on that, we have to do the calculation. So here I am stopping. In the next class, we will see the molecule. We'll take the molecule and we'll jump to the fragmentation and we'll try to get the molecular, I mean the mass spectrum. Okay. So here, if you have any queries, you can ask me later on. We just need to stop here. Other class you have. By the way, you have to submit the assignment what I have given. Okay, but I have discussed already. I hope you have understood. So let us stop then. Thank you for joining today's class.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Stop here.